Lesson-based STEM learners, this is Sir Peter, your virtual basic calculus teacher. So for this video lesson, we are still on lesson 3.1, which is the antiderivatives of polynomials and radicals, exponential functions, and trigonometric functions. In the previous discussion, we're already done with polynomial functions. So we're done with this one. And radical functions. So for the next lesson, we'll focus on exponential functions and trigonometric functions respectively. So we are still on the first learning objective, but this time we will focus on computing the general antiderivative of both the exponential and trigonometric functions as mentioned a while ago. Let's start with the integrals involving exponential functions. So the formula is very easy. Just have to follow the formula itself. We have the integral of a raised to n x dx is equal to 1 over n. So we put the reciprocal of that n value or the coefficient of x. Then we copy a raised to nx. This entire expression will be copied. Then we get the natural logarithm of a. So whatever the base is, you put it as an ln of a. And then of course, we have this constant of integration always as our part of the antiderivative. For the integral of e raised to x dx, we simply get the reciprocal of your coefficient of x. So that's 1 over a. Then you copy the entire Euler's number together with its exponent. And of course, we have the constant of integration, which is plus c. Anyway, it is always present in any solution. Let's have the first example. So suppose we have the integral of e raised to 7x dx. So following this formula, we have the answer 1 over a. So that becomes 1 over 7. Then we simply copy e raised to 7x. Then do not forget our constant of integration plus c. So you see, this is how easy to get the integrals involving exponential functions. Let's have the second example. The integral of 2 e raised to 6x over 3 minus 7 over e raised to 4x dx. So first, we make e raised to 4x negative. So we will put it on the denominator so that it becomes the integral of 2 e raised to 6x over 3 minus 7 e raised to negative 4x. So we change sign. Next, we will apply the constant multiple theorem. So we will put 2/3 in front and negative 7 in front as coefficients. Okay, so we'll have the integral of 2/3, the integral of e raised to 6x dx minus 7 integral of e raised to negative 4x dx. Next, we have 2/3 times. So we apply now 1 over a. So that's 1 over 6, this one, this part. Then we copy e raised to ax. So that is e raised to 6x. Minus 7 times our 1 over a is 1 over negative 4. Then we copy again our e raised to ax, which is e raised to negative 4x. Simplifying, we have 2 times 1, that is 2. 6 times 3, that is 18. But the lowest term of 2 over 18 can be rewritten as 1 over 9, right? So it could be 1 over 9 e raised to 6x, or you can rewrite it as e raised to 6x over 9. So that is the answer here. Okay? That's e raised to 6x over 9. Then we multiply 7, negative 7, and negative 1 over 4. So that will be a positive 1. Then we put, so that becomes plus 7 over 4. Then we have e raised to negative 4x, in which we will get, we will make this one positive. So it will be, so we will put it on the denominator instead. So that is how we finalize the answer. So that is plus 7 over 4 e raised to 4x plus c. I hope you understand. Let's move now to the third example. This time we will apply this formula. So we have the integral of 15 raised to 4x dx. The answer is 1 over n. So that's 1 over 4. Then we copy a raised to nx, same there. So we copy 15 raised to 4x, and then we get the ln of the base, and the base is 15. So that's an ln of 15. Of course, do not forget plus c. To simplify this one, this expression, we'll get 1 times 15 raised to 4x is 15 raised to 4x. Then multiplying the denominators, we have 4 ln 15 plus c. So that's already the final answer. Let's have the fourth example. The integral of 5 raised to 3x dx. So that becomes 1/3. That's 1 over n. Then we copy a raised to nx, which is 5 raised to 3x. Then we get ln of a, which is ln of 5 plus c. So I hope you can follow. Then we multiply 1 and 5 raised to 3x. So that becomes 5 raised to 3x. And then we multiply 3 times ln of 5. So you simply put them together. And then do not forget your constant of integration. So that is how easy it is to get integrals involving exponential functions. Now let us proceed to integrals involving trigonometric functions. Recall that when we get the derivative of sine x, the answer is cosine x. Therefore, when we get the integral of cosine x, then the answer is sine x. So it's just the opposite. Okay? So in here, when we get the derivative of sine x, it's cosine x. And when we get the antiderivative of cosine x, that is a sine x function. So they are just opposite operations. Then, can you recall how to get the derivative of a cosine x? Isn't it negative sine x, right? When we get the derivative of this function, then the answer is a negative sign. So that is also how it works. So therefore, the integral of sine x dx is equal to negative cosine x plus c. Recall again the derivative of a tangent function. Okay, so the derivative of a tangent function is a secant squared x function. Okay, so because of that, so the integral of secant squared x dx is equal to tangent x plus c. Then also recall the answer when we get the derivative of a cotangent function. Isn't it that the answer is negative cosecant squared x? So we do the opposite now. The integral of cosecant squared x dx is negative cotangent x plus c. So you see the relevance of the derivative with respect to its antiderivative. And of course, our favorite function, when we get the derivative of secant, it's a secant, right? This is what I always tell you. So it's a secant x tangent x. Conversely, when we get the integral of secant x tangent x dx, then the antiderivative is secant x plus c. In the same way, when we get the integral of cosecant x cotangent x dx, the answer will be negative cosecant x plus c. So using all of these 6 formulas, let us apply these basic integration rules involving trigonometric functions. Let's have the first example. So we have the integral of negative 4 cosine x dx. We apply the constant multiple theorem. Remember that in the constant multiple theorem, we always put the constant before the integral sign. So that's negative 4 integral of cosine x dx. And then we follow this one. So the answer is negative 4 sine x plus c. I hope you understand. Let's move to the second example. The integral of 7 cosecant squared x minus 3 sine x dx. So we apply the constant multiple theorem. 7 cosecant squared x dx minus 3 integral of sine x dx. So we apply this formula. So the answer here is negative cotangent x. We multiply it by 7 so that it becomes negative 7 cotangent x. And then we use the formula for sine x, that is a negative cosine x. So this negative 3 will be multiplied by a negative sign, so that becomes a positive 3 cosine x plus c. So you see, there is a changing of sign, okay? Because all of the values are negative. See that? Okay, so a positive 7 becomes negative 7, and your negative 3 becomes positive 3 because of the negative symbol of those integrals. Let's have number 3. The integral of 9 cosecant x cotangent x minus 5 secant squared x dx. So again, we apply the constant multiple theorem. We put 9 and negative 5 respectively before the integral sign. Next, we answer the first term. We apply this formula, cosecant x cotangent x, which is negative cosecant. So we have 9 times negative cosecant x. Then for secant squared x, we apply this formula. It becomes negative 5 tangent x plus c. So we simply put the negative sign in front so that it becomes negative 9 cosecant x minus 5 tangent x plus c. So that's already the simplified form. Example 4, the integral of 2 secant x tangent x minus 6 cosecant x cotangent x dx. So we apply the constant multiple theorem. We put 2 and negative 6 in front of the integral sign or before the integral sign. So a secant x tangent x dx will be this one. And a cotangent x cosecant x cotangent x dx is this one. So the answers will be 2 secant x minus 6 times negative cosecant x plus c. We multiply negative times negative so that the final answer will be 2 secant x plus 6 cosecant x plus c. Next, the integral involving trigonometric functions. So we have integral of 7 sine x dx. So we put 7 in front using this formula. Okay, the answer is negative cosine x. Then we multiply the negative sign to 7 with respect to 7. So that's a negative 7 cosine x plus c. For number 6, we have 5, the integral of secant squared x dx minus 9 integral of cosine x dx. Applying the formula for secant squared x, that is a tangent x. And then for cosine x dx, we apply this formula. So the answer becomes 5 tangent x minus 9 sine x plus c. Very easy, right? Let's proceed to item number 7. We have the integral of 8 cosecant x cotangent x plus 5 cosecant squared x dx. So we put 8 in front, then we also put 5 in front. Next, we answer the first integral. For the second integral, we apply this one. So both will be negative. It's 8 times negative cosecant x plus 5 negative cotangent x plus c. Then we put the minus sign in front so that it becomes negative 8 cosecant x minus 5 cotangent x plus c. I hope you understand. Number 8, the integral of 3 cosine x minus 7 sine x minus 2 cosecant squared x dx. So this will be 3 terms, 3 integral of cosine x dx, minus 7 integral of sine x dx, minus 2 integral of cosecant squared x dx. So we use 3 formulas respectively, this one, and this one. So it's really necessary for you to memorize the formula. So for the first one, we have a 3 sine x. Second one, we have negative 7 times negative cosine x. And for the third term, we have negative 2 times negative cotangent x plus c. We will distribute now the negative sign so that the final answer becomes 3 sine x plus 7 cosine x plus 2 cotangent x plus c. Always remember that whenever you apply integration formulas, your plus c must already appear on the answer. So this is just additional. We still remember the Pythagorean identity, sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. So we simply replace x by theta, but those are the same angles. They are angular measure. Remember this identity, tangent squared x plus 1 is equal to secant squared x. 1 plus cotangent squared x is equal to cosecant squared x. So what if we are given the integral of sine squared x plus cosine squared x dx? So it's not part of the formula because we don't have an integral for a sine squared x and a cosine squared x. But since we know this identity and this is equal to 1, then we can assign it as the integral of 1 dx. And what is the integral of dx? Again, going back to the basic integration formulas, the answer is x plus c. So if it is out of context already, based from the 6 formulas that I have presented, then you might try to use Pythagorean identities. Let's have another identity. Let's have the integral of cosecant squared x minus cotangent squared x minus tangent x cotangent x dx. So notice that it's familiar with this one. So let's use that one. So we use 1 plus cotangent squared x is equal to cosecant squared x. And then we transpose so that it will become the same here. So do you agree that when I transpose cotangent x on that side, that becomes 1 equals cosecant squared x minus cotangent squared x, which is this expression. So we can rewrite it now as that identity. So it becomes 1 minus tangent x cotangent x. But do you still remember the ratio identity? Tangent theta is equal to sine theta over cosine theta. Isn't it that we can replace it with respect tangent x? And then you still remember cotangent theta, which is equal to cosine theta over sine theta. Following that identity, we have 1. 1 minus 1 will become 0 dx. And the answer is C. So these are just some of the examples on how to get the integrals of exponential functions and trigonometric functions. For our next topic, we will have the U substitution, or sometimes called integration by substitution. And that will be part of your lesson 3.2. So again, this is Sir Peter, your basic calculus teacher. Good day and God bless.